4 o'clock and we'll start. I'm Marnie Schlopy. Thank you all for being here. I want to let you know you are being recorded. And I also want to say thank you. This is the 4th presentation of our State of Real Estate. And we're doing this every quarter, the 3rd Thursday at 4 o'clock Mountain Time. If you have any suggestions of another time that would work for anybody, let us know. Use the chat box if you would, if you have any questions, and I'll try to get to those after everyone does their presentation. And at the end, we will open it up for a question and answer. We ran through it earlier, and it's about 20 minutes long, and then we'll have 10 minutes for Q&A. Okay? On the agenda today, we have Mr. Dwayne Vance, who's an amazing attorney. We give a lot of our clients, hundreds and hundreds, his number whenever there's a real estate attorney need. Then we have our foodie person from Team Schlopy, Ryan, giving us a little bit of information about hole in the walls that you might not know. Then we have our statistician, Eric Schlopy, getting into depths of what's happening in our market. I think you'll be really surprised to see some of those stats. And then stay tuned for Todd Schlopy with the good old days, because there's some really good, fun things that he's brought to us. So let me introduce the team real quickly. Mary Francis is on the left, starting in the beautiful blue dress, our marketing director. Todd Schlopy and his lovely wife, Stacy, who's on the call. Ryan, who's down below, he's kneeling down, new to the team, doing awesome. Kevin Crockett. Then there's Lana. And Lana and Christy on the floor next to her are at a real estate seminar, learning lots more about marketing and making our team even better. Then we have our son, Eric Schlopy, then myself and Kent. And then we have Bobby Joe, who is our transaction manager as well as our operations manager. So let's get started. Dwayne, I introduced you, so take it away. Let's hear what you have to say.
Okay, today I'm just going to talk about 3 benefits of holding real property in the name of a limited liability company. And this includes all property, whether it's investment property, rental property, vacant land, vacation homes, pretty much anything other than your primary residence. There's a reason why you don't want to hold your primary residence name of an LLC for tax purposes. But the 3 main benefits are liability protection, privacy, and flexibility. Now, as far as liability protection goes, the name of the entity itself tells you right off the bat, this is a limited liability company. What it does is it effectively draws a circle around all of the assets in the LLC and contains the liability associated with those assets to only the assets held in the LLC, and they don't bleed over into your other assets, and you're not personally liable for any liability arising from that. Ideally, you will hold a single parcel of real property in the name of that limited liability company. That way, that parcel of property is the only thing at risk for any liability associated with that parcel of property. But you can group properties together if you don't mind the liability bleeding over from one to the other if you've got multiple rental properties, for example. You should never use an LLC as a substitute for insurance, but rather this should be an additional layer of protection in addition to insurance, kind of like using both a belt and suspenders to make sure that your pants don't fall down. The next benefit is privacy. Ownership of real property is a matter of public record in both the county recorder's office and the county assessor's office. If title is held in the name of an LLC, then the LLC's name shows up on the public records instead of your own personal name. Even if people go into the business records that are available online, you are not required to disclose your own personal name on those business records if you do not want to, and you can always have a nominee or an agent or someone else to help protect your confidentiality and privacy. As far as the privacy goes, you should always get a separate tax ID number or EIN for the LLC as well, so that you don't have to use your own personal social security number. There are times when owners of real property, especially landlords who are renting it out, have to disclose their tax ID number. And you don't want to be giving out your private social security number in conjunction with this property. You want to be able to give them a separate federal tax ID number specifically for that entity. The third benefit is flexibility. Now, one of the options is you can deal with succession of ownership of real property held by the LLC directly in the operating agreement of the LLC itself, independent of your regular estate plan documents. This allows you to add people onto into the LLC, take them out of the LLC without having to adjust the land records and the ownership records there. For example, you can add family members slowly onto the LLC and give them an increasing portion of the ownership in conjunction with a planned giving scheme as part of a comprehensive estate plan. You can also add other partners onto the LLC who are going to jointly own property with you, either for investment or rental purposes, or even for personal use. I have set up a number of LLCs where families jointly use a parcel of real property as vacation property, and all of that's defined within the operating agreement itself. And then finally, if an LLC owns title to the real property, you have the option of selling either the real property itself, or you can actually sell the LLC itself. That's relatively rare, admittedly, but once in a while it comes up, and it's nice to have the flexibility to be able to do that. So holding real property in the name of an LLC is a great idea. It gives you a lot of advantages and benefits. But if you do so, please use the assistance of an attorney to do it right. It's one of those things, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Do it right up front so you don't make a costly mistake by trying to do it on your own.
And may I add, not only does Dwayne make it right, but he also is very easy to work with. So if you want to get a hold of him, he's on our Team Schlopy website under vendors, and you can find his information. So Terry Black is asking benefit of adding dependents to LLC versus putting LLC into a family trust.
You know, quite honestly, either one of those works. If you put the LLC, if the LLC itself is owned by the family trust, then you can go ahead and address ownership within the context of the family trust document itself. And you can accomplish the same thing by adding them directly onto the LLC. It's just a matter of which one you want to use in order to provide the succession provisions. But either one works. And from a convenience standpoint, at that point, I would probably, if you're just adding them on for the sake of succession, I would do it in the family trust. Where the LLC works really well is where you're trying to do a planned giving thing over the course of your life, and you're trying to get assets out of your name before you die. And that's when it's better to put the descendants on the LLC directly.
Great. And another question. When going through the purchase of vacant land with financing, is it better to purchase as an individual, then transfer into the LLC?
It's really a question of financing. In my experience, financing is more readily available if you're purchasing in your individual name. It's a little bit harder to get financing in the name of an LLC, but it's always worth asking because I have seen instances where people can get financing. If you can get financing, just go ahead and buy it in the name of the LLC to begin with. If you, for financing purposes, you need to get the financing in your individual name, then go ahead and purchase it, finance in your individual name, and then immediately convey it into the name of an LLC after you close on the purchase.
Great, great questions, guys. Thanks, Dwayne. And Dwayne will stay on if you have any other questions at the end. So let's go now to Ryan. Not only is he a great real estate agent, but he's a foodie, and he tells us all these cool restaurants. Now that Adolf is closed, we have to branch out and explore.
As Kent told me a few days ago, Ryan, the way you talk about food, you should weigh about 300 pounds plus. Well, I appreciate that, Kent. I'm glad I'm not 300 pounds, but I'm on my way. So I'm here to share with you some of my favorites. And being here in Park City or Summit County, we have some phenomenal restaurants that are here. We've got some great restaurateurs that are sitting here. But I'll tell you, there's some hidden gems out there, specifically when you're out there looking for, some things outside of Park City. And so, in my drive, in my tours of the past several months and weeks and years, I stumbled upon this little gem called the Woodland Biscuit Company out in Woodland. And a lot of people have no idea where Woodland is. If you don't know where it is, look this place up. It is spectacular. It's a small little hole in the wall out there on the Wolf Creek Pass. And kind of this whole theme of, hidden gems is also to help support those local entities that are out there that are actually starving and looking for employees post-COVID. Some of these small independent restaurants are dying for employees, and specifically the Woodland Biscuit Company that are only open right now Saturday and Sunday because they just don't have the staff to get that place open 7 days a week. So even more reason to get out and branch out and see something new. You can see this middle picture here is their herb garden. So everything's local, organic, all scratch made options. And the biscuits are the size of my head, which is pretty big. So you should be able to enjoy yourself and fill yourself up while looking at the nice little mountains and the ranches that are out there. So another spot I like to talk about is the Sur. It's Latin food. A lot of people mix this and confuse this with Mexican food, but the owner, Max, and his beautiful wife here in the photo on the far right. I met them about a year ago. A friend of mine gave me $20 and said, hey, go across the street, order me 2 tacos and order whatever you want. Well, I walked across the street, first time, total hole in the wall, met Max right out of the gates and ordered some tacos, ordered myself some tacos. I came back with $11 in my pocket. That doesn't happen often for lunch for 2 people. So Max has just been one of those people around the restaurant industry through Park City in the Midway Valley and decided to go on his own. And just like the Woodland Biscuit Company is also starving for employees. So my wife and I drive out once a week and go out there and enjoy the tacos, the empanadas, the tamales, scratch made salsas. You like it spicy like I do? Hit it. If you don't, they got everything for everybody else. Green, mild sauces out there. Also with a food truck, it's coming online and he does fresh roasted Mexican street corn to die for. So take a drive, go to Golden Eagle, look at some property. Don't turn right to Park City, turn left. Just go down the road, see Woodland Biscuit Company or Max and his beautiful wife at the Sur. And if you don't want to venture out, there's one other option that just came online here in Park City. It's called Bonnie and Clyde's, kind of another little hole in the wall. So if you're familiar with the old Einstein's location, this is it. It does. See, if you look at the picture on the far right, it doesn't look like an Einstein's anymore. It's gone. And I'm sensitive to this because it's another New Englander bringing food to our part of the world who makes great sandwiches, amazing breakfasts, lunches, salads, and specifically, as we all know, there's a lot of Starbucks and kind of bland coffee and espresso around town. Teas, herbal teas, lattes, matcha lattes. They have a whole bar full of just teas at your disposal. Grab and go, or just sit on the patio and enjoy it and just get some pulled pork sandwiches, get a beautiful salad if it's too hot for you. It's a really cool place to have something new that's exciting in town here to stuff your face and get all greasy and yummy. So eat a lot.
Thanks, Ryan. Those
I'm
are
hungry.
great. Yeah, exactly. Getting to be closer to dinner. So I agree. Eric has some interesting statistics for us. So he has some slides. So stay tuned, Eric.
All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. Last few quarters, we focused on inventory and we wanted to switch it up. So we kind of discussed what might be interesting and we really felt like land sales were accelerating. So I did a little research just to compare it to condo and home sales. So I broke it down into 3 categories. The first slide is our volume of sales. So just the number of sales, then we do sales volume and median sales price. And so I'm comparing the condo sales, home sales, and land sales, and then the percent increase on each one of them. This is all of Park City MLS, so it includes anything that's been on the PC MLS. So not just Park City in town. It's everywhere that Park City MLS is. So volume of sales, condo sales, and sorry, real quick. I did year to date. So obviously we're July 15th today. So I did it for the same amount of time in 2020. So condo number of sales, the volume in 2020 was 413 compared to this year at 755 for an 83% price increase. Home sales, we had 553 in 2020, 724 in 2021 for a 31% increase. In land sales, just like we thought, but it's interesting to see the actual numbers. 2020, we had 270 closings year to date, and 2021, 663. So that's 146% increase in number of sales. So, and keep in mind it's increased. So it would be 240. You guys might be looking at the numbers and thinking that's 246%, but it's just the increase. So you can see the graph, the check mark there is the gray graph is actually the increase in number of sales. So you can see the land sales way up there on number of closings. So let's go to the next stat. So this is dollar volume year to date. So condos, we had 330 million in 2020 compared to 885 million this year to date, 168% price increase. Home sales, we had 714 million in 2020 compared to 1.6 billion this year for 122% increase. And land sales, we had 148 million last year, and this year 495 million for a 235% increase in dollar volume year to date. And then the last slide, or last stat, not the last slide, median price. And this one kind of paints the picture, but then we're going to do all three slides, and I'll kind of make an observation there. So median price year to date with condos, 2020, 615,000 compared to 790,000 for a 29% price increase. Home median price for single family homes, 2020, 841,000 compared to 1.477 million for a 76% increase. In land sales, 281,000 compared to 454 for a 61% price increase. So let's see all three slides. So if you look at number of sales and volume, dollar volume, which is at the bottom, you'll see that land, the transactions and dollar volume is certainly accelerating as we figured they were. Median price, land is actually in between condos and single family homes. And sometimes, in real estate, there's a latency factor. So a lot of times you'll see prices move 90-ish days after the market starts to move. So we were discussing it, and essentially we're looking at land values as being probably out of the three asset classes right now to buy land. There is a little bit of a lag factor in pricing. Of course, the supply for homes and condos have gone way down. So many people have been buying land because they don't have the option to buy homes. So we think that land prices are probably going to continue to go up, and it might even be at a quicker rate than condos and homes right now. And then bonus stat for everybody. This was a quick one, but it was really interesting. Wanted to look at $10 million sales in Park City or on the PCMLS, and how many sales were over 10 million. 2018, the entire year there was 1. 2019, the entire year 2. 2020 year to date there were 0, but 10 total. 2021, 14 sales year to date over 10 million. So if you look at the last 12 months, we've had 24 sales over $10 million. And if you look at the previous 30 months, a total of 3. So it's a crazy stat, and just kind of a fun bonus stat for everybody.
Great, Eric, lots of information. So, your mama's not so good on numbers, but I was looking at all of the sales to date. So have we sold, and I'm putting you on the spot because we didn't practice this. So it seems to me it's added up to $3 billion of real estate so far in 2021. So we'll have to go back and look at those.
Actually, well, yeah.
Am I right? Close?
Yeah, just about $3 billion in total sales volume, which is going to be more than triple of a couple of years ago.
Yes. Wow.
And that's only halfway through the year.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks. Amazing.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And Todd, Todd has some really fun slides or pictures to show you he's been here since 1987. The reason the rest of the Schlopys followed him. So Todd has some great history. Take it away, Todd.
And my pioneer trails from 1987, not 1887, even though we are going to talk about the good old days. And I love the good old days when kids grew like pumpkins in our front yard here. And I think a lot of other people long for the good old days too, when in our complicated times, it's nice to look back at simpler things. And it's one of the best human tendencies that we remember a lot of the good things and gloss over some of the things that maybe weren't quite as great, like when beautiful cameras weighed 100 pounds and didn't do 1/10 of what we can do with our iPhones now. And when the shorts that we wore were shorter, and we needed bad hats to cover up our bad haircuts. Like fashion, Park City ebbs and flows and adapts over the years. And our population here has hit 8,000 a couple of times in the past 120 years and been a ghost town in between. And we started out with agriculture and then discovered silver and gold, went mining, that went bust. Rediscovered ourselves in the 1960s with skiing, but that didn't do much for our summers yet. And we still had to go to Salt Lake City for almost everything. It took a while to get around to being a year-round resort and an all-season place for us to live and raise our families. My first house, pictured here, had incredible memories, but it was poorly constructed, wasn't very well thought out. I fought with it in some way, shape, or form pretty much every day that we lived there. Now it's gone and something better is in its place. I used to stop in Keatley on the way to Heber and get fresh jerky because the fresh jerky sign there was so huge, it kind of begged you and forced you to stop. Now Keatley's at the bottom of the Jordanelle Reservoir. And should we lament that? I'm going to say no. We're going to adapt, move on like we've been so good at over the years, and say that the West is parched. And I think in the end, we're glad to have the water and a beautiful place to go out and recreate. Some of the best things, some of the most beautiful things, we have been smart enough to keep the same and protect. It's a comfort to me every time we drive by the McPolin barn that I get a color shot in our modern mountain town that is absolutely identical to the gorgeous black and white images from 100 years ago. That's my take on the good old days.
Amazing, Todd. Thanks. And by the way, that little pumpkin in the front yard was Todd's firstborn, Beth Ann, who is now.
Yeah, we still have that costume kicking around somewhere waiting for grandkids to put it on.
Well, good. So, Eric Schlopy, question for you from Eric Lipton. Are you seeing price appreciation slow down or even leveling off? Are days on market increasing on average? So Eric doesn't have to answer that. Anybody else?
Yeah, no, I think if anybody else from the team wants to chime in, Eric, it's like I said, there is a latency on pricing right now, and things have accelerated so much. I mean, the numbers that I shared with everybody are anomalies on year-over-year numbers. So I feel like for the price increase to continue in that direction and that precipitous of a curve would be impossible. So even though supplies are at an all-time low and demand seems to be at an all-time high, I do think prices will start to level off because they have to. If you look at year over year since 2009, we've been averaging 9 to 11%. And this year we're way past that. So that's when things get, can get a little bit scary when you see that much increase. So really that 9 to 11% is a very healthy number. So I do feel like they will level off. It wouldn't surprise me if there is another spike. Another theory we talked about was the midsummer July 4th lull. And similar to the Christmas lull. So as a buyer's agent, I work with buyers, and between mid-December and New Year's, I don't see a lot of activity because families are traveling, they're focused on the holidays, having fun, kids are out of school, and right now that's happening July 4th, or around July 4th, and a lot of it too is because people have been cooped up for 15 months, and they're out enjoying for the first time being able to travel and being with their families. So I think there has been a little bit of a lull, at least for me. Team Schlopy's been busy, gratefully, but there has been a little bit of buyer activity lull, and I want to say it's because of that. Again, it's a theory, but I do feel like once we get into September, the ski and ski out properties and second homes will start to pick up a lot. And again, that's of course, no one has a crystal ball, but that's my feeling of what's going to happen.
Now, we also spoke about that. Everyone is just so excited to be outside and doing so much. In fact, I so appreciate everybody being on this call because everybody has just been trying to fit everything in this summer. It's like, oh, we got to go here, we got to go there, we got to do this, we got to try this restaurant, we got to, and so it's just been, getting back to life. And I think that's been the theme of late, and trying to fit everything in. So, but I do feel, again, we've had a lot of, we don't have a lot of standing inventory. If it's standing inventory, there's a reason it's not selling. So, anything that comes on that's marketable will sell multiple offers. We've had course after course of how to deal with multiple offers. So hold on, there's one more chat here. Oh, never mind.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So great questions, great interaction, everybody, and just so appreciate everyone being on the call. And if you want to invite anyone next time, 90 days-ish from now, we'll have another call to update you. But any referrals or anything you need, please reach out to Team Schlopy. We're all here to help.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks. Thank you.